Welcome back, everybody, to another deep dive. This time, we're going to try to figure out Anonymous.
Oh, this should be good.
Yeah, it's a big one,
It's
right?
huge.
So much to unpack. And today, we're just working from one source, a narrative overview. But even just from this, there is so much we can try to figure out. Like, who are these people? What do they actually do? And why should any of us even care?
Yeah, they're definitely a fascinating group.
More than just a group, right?
Right.
Like, this isn't your typical club that you join.
Definitely not.
Think global activists, they wear those Guy Fawkes masks.
Oh, yeah. Iconic.
Right. And they're launching cyber attacks against like governments and corporations, all in the name of, they say, justice. So are they heroes? Are they vigilantes? Something else entirely.
It's a really good question.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting deep dive.
Yeah, I think so.
Let's see if we can unpack what makes Anonymous tick and how they've managed to, stay active and influential for like over 2 decades now.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. It really challenges what we think of when we hear organization,
How so?
Well, there are no real leaders. There's no membership, not even like a fixed ideology. The source compared them to like people riding the bus.
People on a bus.
Yeah, all kind of going in the same direction, at least for a while, but everyone has their own story and their own reasons for being on that bus.
Oh, that's a great analogy. So it's more about a shared destination, but not necessarily like traveling the same path or having the same, luggage, so to speak.
Yeah.
That's such a great way to think about it because it really highlights how decentralized they are and fluid, which that's got to be both their strength, right?
Absolutely.
But also like what makes them so mysterious.
Well,
with their own-
sure. I mean, that's what makes them so hard to, keep track of and predict and hold accountable.
Because, how do you hold like a bus full of people accountable?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's almost like a paradox.
Oh, tell me more.
Well, they're all about information transparency, like exposing secrets. Yet they operate in secrecy,
Right.
which, it just brings up a lot of questions, like what are their motives? And, even if their tactics are effective.
Right, because they're fighting for transparency, but they're not exactly transparent themselves.
Exactly.
Okay, so we got to address the elephant in the room, or rather, the mask on the face.
The Guy Fawkes mask, right?
Yeah, it's iconic. But I would bet that most people don't even know the full story behind it.
Probably not.
Yeah.
They probably recognize it from that movie V for Vendetta.
Yeah.
But it goes way deeper than that. Like, Guy Fawkes was a real dude back in the 17th century.
It was.
Yeah, tried to blow up the English Parliament.
Wow. So his face, frozen in time on that mask, it became a symbol of rebellion against authority.
That's right.
So, this is fascinating how it went from this historical footnote to like, I think our source said it was featured in a comic book in the 80s.
That's right.
And then finally, became the symbol for Anonymous.
Yeah.
It's just crazy how a simple image can become so powerful. Like, why do you think that this mask, out of all the possible symbols out there, why this one for Anonymous?
Well, I think, first of all, it's visually striking. It's instantly recognizable. And it lets people join a collective identity, but conceal their own identity.
Oh, right. So they're part of something bigger than themselves, but they're still individuals.
Right. And it just fits so perfectly with their whole decentralized structure.
Because anyone can put on that mask.
Yeah, exactly. Anyone can put on the mask and be part of the movement.
It's like a uniform that gets you into this secret society, but it's a society like with revolving doors.
I like that, revolving doors.
Because people are coming and going all the time.
That's great.
So let's get into some of the actual things they've done, because I think that's where this really gets interesting. So our source highlights a bunch of different events that show how they kind of changed over time.
Yeah.
What do you think is like a good starting point?
Well, their attack on the Church of Scientology back in 2008, that really put them on the map.
Yeah.
Like, the church tried to suppress this video of Tom Cruise, talking about his beliefs. And Anonymous was like, nope, not going to happen. This is an attack on free speech.
Yeah.
And so they just bombarded the church with these denial of service attacks. Basically, they just flooded the website with traffic until it crashed.
So that was like their first major public display of what we might call hacktivism.
You could say that, yeah.
They were using their tech skills to make a political point, but they didn't stop there, right?
Oh, no. In 2010, they decided to take on an Indian film company that was trying to shut down this pirate website.
Pirate website.
Yeah.
Okay.
And for Anonymous, it was all about defending information sharing, even if it meant supporting something that was illegal.
Oh, wow. That's where their ideology gets a little complicated. Because, like, on the one hand, they're fighting censorship, which most people would say is good, right?
Yeah.
But then at the same time, they're supporting piracy. And that has legal and ethical implications.
Absolutely. It's kind of like, are they really driven by a consistent set of principles? Or are they just reacting to situations that feel wrong to them in the moment?
That's the big question, isn't it?
It is. It's a big question.
Is there some sort of, like, anonymous moral compass? Or is it more about gut feeling?
It's something we'll definitely have to keep unpacking as we, dig deeper into this.
Yeah, that's a question we're going to keep coming back to, I have a feeling. But before we move on, is there, like, one more event that you think is really important for understanding, where they're coming from and what they're willing to do?
Yeah, actually there is. In 2011, they hacked this company called HBGary Federal.
HBGary Federal.
It was a cybersecurity firm. And apparently they were plotting to discredit WikiLeaks.
WikiLeaks?
Yeah, the website that publishes all those, like, classified documents.
Oh, right, right.
So Anonymous saw this as a direct attack on whistleblowers and, a threat to transparency. So they retaliated.
How?
By stealing and publishing thousands of HBGary Federal's internal emails. It was a huge data breach. And it sent a very clear message: don't mess with Anonymous or the people they decide to protect.
Wow, that's like a digital David and Goliath story.
Kinda, yeah.
But instead of slingshots, they're using code and information as their weapons.
That's a great way to put it. And their choice of targets is so interesting, right? It's like from religious organizations to cybersecurity firms. It shows just how diverse their interests are.
It does.
And that their actions often seem to reflect some kind of moral compass, even if that compass isn't always pointing in a direction everyone agrees with.
Right. It's not always clear cut.
Not at all.
But before we get too lost in the weeds of, is it right or is it wrong?
Yeah.
Let's rewind a little bit and think about, like, where did all this even begin? Our source says that Anonymous has a pretty surprising origin story.
Yeah, I know, right?
So lay it on me. Where did this, like, global force of hacktivists actually emerge?
Well, believe it or not, it all started on 4chan. Yeah, specifically this message board called B. Just, like, imagine the most chaotic, often offensive corner of the internet.
So, like, the exact opposite of fighting for justice and transparency.
It would seem that way.
Wow, this is getting good. So how on earth did something like Anonymous emerge from that kind of environment?
Well, as crazy as it sounds, 4chan's chaotic and, anonymous nature actually played a key role.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Tell me more.
Well, I mean, first of all, everyone on B, they all posted as anonymous, so it created this sense of, like, collective identity, right?
Right.
But it also meant there was no individual accountability. So
Yeah.
instead of, stifling action, it actually emboldened people.
So it's like the anonymity gave them the freedom to do whatever they wanted.
Pretty much, yeah. And to challenge norms and engage in, collective pranks and actions.
So that's kind of how it started, just pranks.
Well, I mean, in a way.
Yeah.
But then it started to evolve. Users realized that they had this power, this collective power, to make a real difference.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, they could, try to right perceived wrongs, target people or institutions they thought were abusing their power.
And I mean, I guess that's how Anonymous as we know it today really started to take shape.
Right. And then there was a specific incident back in 2008 that really brought them into the public eye.
Which was?
The attack on the Church of Scientology. It was like a turning point for them. It propelled them from, the depths of 4chan to the world stage.
Oh, wow. And that's when the Guy Fawkes mask really became their calling card.
Exactly.
So let's talk about that, because I think that's a good place to pick up in the next part of our deep dive.
Sounds good to me.
Okay, everyone, hang tight. We'll be back in just a minute to really break down what happened with the Church of Scientology and how it shaped Anonymous into the force it is today.
Can't wait.
Okay, so before the break, we were talking about 4chan.
Right, right.
And how something like Anonymous could come from,
from the depths.
the depths of the internet.
Yeah, pretty much.
So how did this, incident with the Church of Scientology, how did that really bring them into the spotlight?
Well, it was really all about this video.
What video?
A video of Tom Cruise, talking about Scientology.
Oh, okay.
And the church was, really trying to suppress it.
Oh, I see.
And Anonymous saw that as, censorship.
Right, right.
And they're very anti-censorship. They saw it as an attack on, freedom of information. They basically thought, look, the church is this powerful, secretive organization that's trying to control information.
Right.
And we're not going to let that happen.
So was that their first big coordinated action?
It was, yeah. It was like a huge statement. And it made people realize that Anonymous was more than just like a bunch of internet trolls.
So what did they actually do?
Well, a lot of things. I mean, they did those denial of service attacks that we talked about,
Mhm.
where they flood websites with traffic and make them crash.
Yeah.
They took down the church's websites. They flooded their servers with emails and phone calls. They even organized protests in the real world.
Whoa. Wait, so they went offline too?
Yeah, people would show up at church locations wearing Guy Fawkes masks,
Mm.
to hide their identities.
So it wasn't just online anymore.
Nope. It was spilling over into the real world.
That's wild. And they were able to coordinate all of that, even without any clear leadership.
I know, right? It's pretty remarkable.
So, like, how do they even, like, make decisions and get everyone on the same page?
Well, it's a mix of things. They use online forums and chat rooms and social media,
Right, right.
and they rely a lot on consensus. So,
Ah.
like, people propose ideas, and they debate them openly, and then they kind of figure out what they want to do together.
So it's more like a swarm of bees, like everyone doing their own thing, but somehow working together to achieve a common goal.
Yeah, that's a really good way to put it.
Yeah.
And it makes them really hard to stop.
Right. It's not like you can just like arrest the leader and shut the whole thing down.
Exactly. And that's a big part of why they've been able to survive for so long. They're constantly adapting and evolving.
So that Scientology incident, that was kind of like their coming out party.
In a way, yeah.
Like the world suddenly realized, oh, these guys are serious. They're not just messing around.
Yeah, they're not just a bunch of kids in their basements anymore.
Right. But it also raised a lot of questions about their methods.
For sure. I mean, they were engaging in illegal activities. Hacking, taking down websites, disrupting services.
It gets kind of murky, right? Because on one hand, they're fighting for freedom of information, but on the other hand, they're breaking the law.
Yeah, and that's the thing with Anonymous. It's hard to put them in a neat little box. Are they activists? Are they hackers? Are they vigilantes?
It's like they're all of those things at the same time.
Right. And it's up to each individual to decide whether they think their actions are justified or not.
It's a tough call. There are definitely arguments to be made on both sides.
Absolutely. And I think that's part of what makes them so fascinating.
Right.
They force us to think about these questions, about the limits of activism and what's acceptable behavior in the digital age.
Right, right. It's like a constant ethical dilemma.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've talked about their origins, their rise to fame with the Scientology thing and the whole ethics debate. But there's another layer to Anonymous that I think is really interesting.
Oh, what's that?
Their relationship with WikiLeaks.
Ah, yes. That's a complicated one.
Right, because on the surface, it seems like they're both fighting for similar things.
Transparency, accountability, exposing secrets.
Right.
But they go about it in very different ways.
Yeah, it's almost like they complement each other. Like WikiLeaks provides the content, the raw information, and then Anonymous is the muscle.
To the muscle.
Yeah, they get the information out there, they protect the people who leak it, they're the ones who make sure that the message gets heard.
I like that. They're the amplifiers.
Exactly. And I think that dynamic really came into play during the Arab Spring uprisings back in 2011.
Oh, yeah, definitely. That was a pivotal moment.
I mean, those uprisings were like a turning point in history.
They were. And Anonymous played a significant role in supporting those protests.
Really? How so?
Well, they used their technical skills to help activists communicate and organize online, even when governments were trying to shut down the internet.
Wow. So they were literally fighting for democracy.
In a way, yeah. They saw it as a fight against oppressive regimes.
So once again, they were stepping outside of the purely digital realm.
Right. They were using their skills to try to make a real difference in the world.
It's like they're becoming this, like, digital conscience for the internet age, calling out injustice wherever they see it.
Yeah, I like that. The digital conscience.
But it also makes you wonder, like, where do they go from here? Will they keep expanding their scope, take on even bigger issues?
It's hard to say. I mean, can a group like Anonymous, with its loose structure and its chaotic nature, can it really be a force for lasting change? Or are they just like a flash in the pan?
Yeah,
A digital phenomenon that will eventually fade away?
that's a good question. It's something to think about, for sure. I mean, they've already been around for over 2 decades.
Right, which is pretty amazing when you think about it.
It is, but I mean, the internet is constantly changing. The world is constantly changing.
True.
So who knows what the future holds for Anonymous? But I think it's safe to say that they've left their mark on the digital landscape.
Oh, absolutely. They've definitely made their presence known.
Yeah.
And they've shown that online communities can have a real impact on the world.
Yeah, they've challenged the status quo, they've exposed secrets, they've fought for what they believe in,
Right.
and they've done it all without any clear leaders or structure.
It's a pretty remarkable story when you think about it.
It is. It really makes you wonder, like, who are these people behind the masks? What motivates them? And how do they actually manage to get anything done without any, top-down organization?
It's a mystery, right?
It is. So let's dive into that mystery, the identity of Anonymous, in the next part of our deep dive. Stick around. It's like the more you try to define them, the more slippery they become.
Right. It's what makes them so fascinating, but also a little bit, well, unnerving. Like
Oh.
a digital phantom that can just, appear out of nowhere.
And then disappear just as quickly.
Exactly. And our source makes a really interesting point about that, about how that lack of structure is actually key to their survival.
Mm-hmm.
Think about it, a traditional organization. You can infiltrate it, arrest the leaders, cut off the funding.
Or typical takedown strategies.
But with Anonymous, much harder.
Yeah.
Because there is no traditional structure to target.
It's like a whack-a-mole.
Yeah. You get rid of one and two more pop up.
Okay, but we got to talk about the more, let's say, controversial things they've done, because there is a line, right, between fighting for justice and doing things that are, well, straight up illegal.
Oh, absolutely. And that's where the ethics of Anonymous get really complicated.
Right, because they've been accused of all sorts of things, like cyberbullying, harassment, releasing people's private information.
Yeah, things that, regardless of the motive, can cause real harm.
Like that example from our source about them attacking that cybersecurity firm.
Right, the one that claimed to have infiltrated them.
Yeah, and they hit back by hacking the firm, releasing tons of internal documents, and basically causing a ton of damage.
Both financially and reputationally.
Yeah, and that just brings up the question, even if you support what Anonymous stands for, are these tactics ever justified?
It's a tough one. Is it okay to break the law, maybe even hurt people, if you believe you're doing it for some greater good, like transparency or justice?
There are no easy answers.
Yeah.
So it seems like their targets have been all over the place. We've talked about Scientology, that cybersecurity firm, but who else has gotten their attention?
Oh, gosh. I mean, the list is long. Governments, corporations, law enforcement agencies, hate groups.
Even individuals.
Oh, yeah. If they think someone's abusing their power, watch out.
Like, our source mentions their campaign against Elon Musk back in 2021.
Oh, right. When they accused him of, messing with the cryptocurrency market.
That was a bold move, taking on someone like Elon Musk.
It really showed that they weren't afraid to go after anyone, no matter how powerful.
Did that campaign, actually work? Did it achieve anything?
It's hard to say for sure. I mean, the effects of what they do are often so widespread
Yeah.
and kind of unpredictable.
It's like ripples in a pond.
Exactly. You throw a stone in, but it's hard to trace every single wave that results from it. It's possible that their campaign made Musk, more cautious about what he says publicly about cryptocurrency, but there's no way to know for sure.
So once again, it's all part of the mystery.
Right. They work in the shadows. Their impact is hard to measure. It all just adds to their mystique.
Our source makes a pretty interesting prediction about the future of Anonymous.
Oh, yeah. What's that?
They say that as we rely more and more on technology.
Which we are, definitely, every day.
Right, exactly. They think that Anonymous's influence is only going to grow.
Well, it makes sense. The more intertwined our lives become with the online world, the higher the stakes get when it comes to digital freedom, security, all of that. And groups like Anonymous, with their technical skills and willingness to challenge the powers that be, they're going to be right at the center of that.
So if someone's listening to this, what does it all mean for them? What does the existence of Anonymous really mean for, everyday life?
I think it's a reminder that the internet is not just this, fun, harmless place to connect with friends and watch funny videos. It's a complex landscape, constantly evolving. And there are forces at play that we don't always see, but that can have a very real impact on our lives.
So we need to be paying attention more than ever before, probably.
Definitely.
So to wrap things up, what would you say is the one key takeaway you want our listeners to, walk away with today?
That's a good one. I think at the end of the day, Anonymous is this complicated, often contradictory force. They can do good, they can do bad. Heroic actions one day, something harmful the next. Their whole existence just throws up all these questions about power, about who gets to hold it and what the limits are in a world where so much is happening online.
Right, and those are questions we all have to grapple with.
We do, because this isn't just about anonymous, it's about the kind of future we want to build online and what role we each play in shaping that future.
That's a great note to end on. It's been an amazing journey exploring the world of Anonymous. We've only just scratched the surface, but hopefully our listeners have a better sense now of who they are, what they do, and why they matter.
There's always more to learn, of course,
Yeah.
but that's what makes it so exciting.
That's all the time we have for today's deep dive. But listener, keep your eyes open. Anonymous may be lurking just around the corner, shaping the world in ways we're only beginning to understand.
And who knows? Maybe you'll even be inspired to get involved. After all, anyone can be anonymous.
Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and maybe we'll see you out there behind the mask.